Welcome back. I'm Pat Lynch, president of the Frontier Group, and this is the third in our three-part series that we call Leaders in HR. And what we have right now is a great conversation going with Reneé Maxwell, Director of Human Resources at Hansgrohe. In the previous two segments, we got to learn a little bit about Reneé, and then she discussed the cultural challenges that she faces at Hansgrohe, a German parent company that has multiple cultures all within one organization, and how the challenges that she faces and how she's going to put together programs to address that. So today what we're going to learn is the steps that Reneé took, the programs that she took to take those challenges on. Reneé, tell us a little about this, the programs that you did.
Well, it's been a long journey,
Yeah.
First of all, and it wasn't just one piece. There were multiple pieces that we needed to deal with. First being the very fundamental language. You have English, you have German, you have Spanish, and Spanish in its dialect alone is multiple. Burmese. And so when you look at how are we communicating, which dealt directly with organizational effectiveness, we had to get kind of a common language, so to speak. And that didn't mean you had to be fluent in English, but it meant that we had to be able to communicate clearly enough for the managers and the employees to understand not just what was being told, but the initiative behind it, which for our executives who are all German, that comes off usually very direct, very blunt, and very practical and matter of fact, which sometimes isn't always a big motivational thing for the employees out on the plant floor. So we started out with English as a second language. We did those classes on site. 50% of the time that the employee was away from the floor we paid for, and that their investment was to use some of their personal time as well. That worked pretty well to get everyone on the common language page. Mm-hmm. Second phase, diversity, which is commonly known here in the United States. And it's not just about gender, and it's not just about race, and it's not just about age. It's where you're from, everything from having people have an open dialogue about their foods and their customs. And it was a very enriching experience for everyone, and everyone was required to participate. And we walked away with having a much better understanding. And like for me, it was around the Bosnians. I had never worked with a Bosnian group before. Mm-hmm. And so we got to learn a lot about the Bosnian and Croatian, Serbian conflict, and why some of those employees who in their previous lives had been white-collar professionals who are now in the United States working blue-collar jobs, why maybe they weren't quite as happy, maybe a little angry. So it gave everyone a much broader understanding of the world we lived in at Hansgrohe. And then our final step was cultural assimilation, and I had the privilege of working with Warren Ezra, who's with the Frontier Group on a number of other projects, and called him and said, we really need to talk about cultural assimilation for our German expats and talk about how they need to be prepared to work with an American workforce.
Interesting. When going back to as far as cultural appreciation, what type of things did you do to really enable that? Was it lunch and learns, or is it presentations, or presenters, or how'd you do that?
You'd be amazed at some of the tools we used. Everything from showing movies with popcorn and having people come in and watch movies about the Serbian-Bosnian conflict. And there's lots of material out there. Hollywood produces wonderful stuff sometimes that can help educate the workforce. We've had, bring your foods to lunch. And had lunch and learns. We've had facilitators come in and do workshops with different groups of employees, all designed to kind of peel back the layers of their experiences from their various countries. And people found it entertaining, engaging, and fun, and anytime you have food involved, it's always a great way to get people to learn.
How do you track as far as progress on that? Because I know in our previous segment we talked about the reason to do this was organizational effectiveness. Mm-hmm. So as an HR leader, how did you then report back to management in terms of these programs were showing an impact?
Differences often in a manufacturing environment are result in conflict. Conflict sometimes results in work stoppages, ineffective meetings, ineffective communication. And so we had all these little measures that we were looking at from an HR perspective, employee relations, escalations of claims, of issues and things like that that we could look at. Employer roundtables where the employees are talking directly to the executive manager and we're gauging. It's been a very transparent process, and there's a level of trust that goes along with it, where people are willing to disclose, not necessarily because they want to get people in trouble, but they really want to get to the root cause so that we're all more effective. And the employees understood that.
Reneé, can you tell us a little bit more about the cultural assimilation program that Warren and I put in place for you?
Sure. That program was exclusively designed for our German nationals that come over, as well as our German interns. And so those assignments are usually broken out in 3 different ways. It's either a project that they're coming over to work on, task force almost, or a 3-month German intern comes over and stays with us for a period of time, which is part of their educational requirement in Germany, that they have these international experiences. And then the third are those that come over on 3-year assignments that in some instances actually, seek a green card and then stay here in the country, but their stay here is much longer than the average. And so what we looked at was our history, and said almost every German national that we've come over at some point has had to go into executive coaching. What do we need to do better? And we decided that that assimilation piece had a lot to do with it. And so in walking through those things, we put together a program that would fit all of those needs and help out with the transition of bringing someone from Germany to manage a U.S. workforce. So it's so far so good.
Kind of question, as far as you as a HR leader and your experience with cultural coaching, what advice would you give to other leaders in the field as far as the benefits of instilling cultural coaching in your workplace?
Depending on the organization and the size and the ability to get out amongst the people, HR leaders have to get out in the community, and they have to ask questions. They have to find out what are some of the challenges that really can be linked to cultural assimilation. International companies probably have the biggest challenges because it's a melting pot. Similar to the United States, you've got people from all over the place. In some instances, some companies do a better job of preparing up front, which is ideally where you want it to happen, before they arrive in the United States. However, if that's not happening, the quicker you can meet those needs, the better and the more effective. But I would say most important thing is get out from behind the desk, get out into the community, talk to your employees, talk to managers. Definitely go visit your parent company and understand what that culture is like as well.
Well, great. Well, Reneé, thank you very much.
Thank you,
This was a tremendous conversation, and thank you all for watching. I think that you found a lot of great insights with Reneé Maxwell. She's just knows her stuff, and everything around cultural coaching is such an important benefit that can come into international organizations. And I want to thank you all for sharing time with us. This has been a great 3-part series, and stay tuned. We'll have more series to come in our Leaders in HR series. So again, thank you for your time. This is Pat Lynch, President of the Frontier Group, and I will say goodbye.